Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Folks, how are you?
You know, I guess he's waving at the two moderators, but when I first saw this, I thought, what in the hell is he waving at? There's no audience. It's him, Trump, and the two moderators. It just seems a bit weird, though, to be throwing the hands out. Like, he's probably already talked to them. Why do you gotta greet him again? I don't know. I guess that's what happens when you're senile. Yeah, right there, dumbass. Pointing like he's not sure.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
See, that's how you do it. You're just gonna say thank you. You already greeted him before.
Thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table...
All right, I don't care what else he's going to say now. There was a whole bunch of nonsense he said right there. Though. First off, he says, we're given a terrible economy, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's because the pandemic started. I mean, that started at the, COVID-19 started at the end of 2019. So, yeah, things were a little bit rough trying to figure that all out. There was direction being told everywhere, every which way, Fauci and this and that and states and this douchebag even. Oh, no, not him, it's still Trump. But still, direction from everywhere. And, so maybe it was a little rough. But he makes it sound like the economy was just absolutely trash the whole time. They had so much work to fix it. No, the economy was great. If it wasn't for COVID, you would have been handed one of the best economies ever. Second, he says something about unemployment rate was at 15%. I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say that that's probably true to a certain extent, but not because Trump's economy sucked, but because people were having the stay-at-home orders. So in a way, that made it so unemployment was higher. People weren't going to work, so technically they were unemployed. It's not because they were just unemployed because Trump's economy was terrible. They were unemployed because they were being told to stay home. Yeah, and then Mr. Braindead says that Trump said, inject yourself with bleach. He never fucking said that. What he did say was he was talking about how COVID is easy to kill with, like, regular sanitation wipes, like Lysol wipes, Clorox wipes. So he says this isn't, like, that crazy of a disease. You wipe something down, it's dead. So he was saying something in a hypothetical sense, like, there's got to be something out there like that we can just inject into ourselves, boom, yeah, you're good. He wasn't saying, go home, find your bleach under your kitchen sink or wherever you keep it, take a needle, fill it up, and then put it in your body. That'll work. He never said that, you idiot. He was talking in a hypothetical, like, there's got to be something in the medical world like this. And you know what? There probably was tons of things like that. But, you stupid people wanted to have all full power and couldn't let any of that be. Like what's it called? The hypermectin stuff. But they're like, oh, that's for horses, even though it worked fantastically when used in a proper dosage.
But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now.
This moron talks about how, we gotta get the price of rents and housing and blah blah blah, all this other stuff he says under control. It's like, I hate when they do this, because this is like a dumb tactic that dumb politicians always do. You've been in office now for just about 4 years, and things are terrible. Mortgage rates are extremely high. Rents are ridiculously high, quite possibly because of mortgage rates. Landlords are trying to break even on the mortgage, plus have a little extra so that A, maybe they can make a little profit, and B, they have money for repairs and stuff. So then that ends up making rents psychotic. But then there's also all that other stuff he said, the food and everything. But it's like, they always do this. They talk about, we gotta fix this. You've had 4 years and you destroyed it. You haven't done anything to try to fix it. We're in the mess that we're in. How much more time do you think you need? You couldn't do it in 4 years. You think you're gonna do it in 8 years? Just like their new talking point always is with the Supreme Court. We're gonna overturn Roe v. Wade. Blah, blah, blah. Roe v. Wade got overturned, 2 years ago to begin with, as it is? You've had 2 years to do this. Have you had any success? Nope. So how do you think you're going to do it in the next 4 years? It's not up to you anyways. It's up to the Supreme Court. They chose to overturn it. You have no authority to say that it's going to go back. So what are you even wasting your time talking about that for?
In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this dick right here, because first off, he says, he didn't do anything in his administration. Are you serious? Okay, maybe in the context of you, because you've done a lot to destroy the country and been very, very traitorous with all that money you've been sending to Ukraine and stuff, so just blowing our national debt out of proportion and all that, where he didn't do that. He actually cared about this country and put us first and did a lot to help us be powerful and, in control, like we should be. But second off, here he goes, trying to steal the insulin thing. We put the cap? No, Trump started the cap on insulin, you dick. And then, of course, when you came into office, you overthrew everything that he did. And so then, over time, you're like, we should take that back. And, now I can take credit for it. It's not you. It's just like if you try to take credit for the vaccines. The vaccines were completely worthless and sucked, but Trump's the one that started them with Operation Warp Speed. Just because it ended up finishing under your crappy administration doesn't mean that it was your idea, your plan or anything. So... idiot.
$200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
So one thing, I mean, okay. The Democrat side wants to say, "Oh, see, Trump lied about the greatest economy." I mean, I'm sure that's probably a little bit exaggeratory. I don't know what the greatest economy would have been. Probably wasn't under his term, but at the same time, it was still pretty good. Like, it might not be the greatest, but it was doing pretty solidly. And then he also says, and then as far as the jobs go, he says for illegals. I mean, I don't think illegals are even getting jobs. They're just mooching off the government. They come here and then, these morons ship them up to some fancy hotel that they have no business in and let them stay there for free. So he's not really making jobs for illegals. I think that was just a sly dig to try to talk about Biden's failures with the illegals coming in. But the jobs that this douchebag has created, they aren't very solid. I mean, one, like he said, a lot of them are callbacks or something, which, yeah, that's what a lot of them were. People went out of work because of the mandates, and then they came back. Oh, created tons of jobs. No, you didn't. People just went back to work. And as far as a lot of the other jobs, from what I hear, it's like part-time work. There's a lot of part-time jobs. Well, part-time jobs suck. A, it's not full-time, so you're not getting the maximum pay you could be getting. B, there's no benefits really with a part-time job as opposed to a full-time job. C, part-time jobs, hours could fluctuate. 1 week you might have 25 hours, the next week you might have 10. So it's not even like a consistent amount of money that you can depend on. At least full-time, you're getting 40, so you know what your 40 baseline is, whether you're salary or hourly. At least you know what you can expect every single week. And you can come up with budgets around that and stuff. And another thing about part-time jobs is they could also be kind of temporary. You're only a part-timer. So if it's at an establishment that also has full-time people, well, if cuts need to be made, I don't think they're going to get rid of their full-time people. They'll get rid of their part-time people. I mean, who knows? Depending on the company, some of them do have weird business practices, and they would get rid of the full-time people just so then they can reduce benefits. But if it's a decent enough company, you're going to get rid of that part-time person because they're just not as valuable as the full-time people. So, yeah. I mean, all these jobs are worthless. I also heard something else about the jobs, but I'm forgetting offhand. Like, there's either a whole bunch of listings that have been made, but it's for fake jobs or something just so it looks good. So you can search on, like, what's it called? Indeed. And it's like, oh, look at all these jobs, but they're not real. But you don't know this. You still apply to them, but no one ever gets back to you because it's not a real job. So I hear that's been going on too. So, yeah that ain't so hot. But this idiot wants to I made what's he trying to claim, 15 million jobs or something? Yeah, okay, loser. I always find it ironic too when this douchebag tries to talk about all the jobs that he's created and blah, blah, blah. Oh, we created so many jobs. It's like, you are a failure of a politician. You've been a failure your entire career. You were caught plagiarizing back in the 80s when you tried to run for president. I don't know how all these people forgot about that. Especially the older generation that supposedly voted for you. I don't know how they forgot all about that. But, this guy's just been constantly failing up. And, yeah, you think... So, yeah, he's going to claim that he's made all kinds of jobs versus a businessman who actually knows how to make jobs. Like, that's so dumb to try to say that Trump can't make jobs, but I did. A failed politician who can't do anything right in my life. I made all these jobs, though, not the guy who's spent his whole entire life building businesses, which in turn is making jobs. Nope, not him. He doesn't know how to make jobs. It's so stupid.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that...
What is that even supposed to mean? Do you think we have a great economy right now, you moron? Because we definitely don't. We definitely do not. I think on Twitter I posted under someone, either this dickbag's account on one of his stupid posts or somebody, I put how back in 2015 I was making $14 an hour less than I make now. And yet during those days I feel like I felt richer than I do now. And it's like, how does that even make sense? I make $14 an hour more now, and I feel poorer than I did then. So, and guess what? 2015, when I was working at that job, that's when Trump got elected. November 2015, so we could start... Or no, was it? No, 2016. was an election, and then he started in January 2017. But you know what I mean. So, that's when I started that job, was 2015, so that was still Obama. But, we rode through, and I felt like I was doing okay for myself. I had a much nicer car than I have now, and everything. And I make way more money now. So I don't know what this moron's trying to say. Nobody thinks you had a better... What, you think yours is great? Yours is terrible. If I was doing good at $14 an hour less, I should be doing fantastically now. I should be feeling like a millionaire, and I don't. I mean, I get paid, and it's like it's gone before I know it. And I'm like, what in the world? This is so much more.
We found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one.
Oh, I hate when these idiots always talk about the deficit. At the end of the day, deficit means nothing. Okay, when they talk about raising the deficit or lowering the deficit, who fucking cares? You know what the deficit is, for layman's terms? Deficit is how much money you spent on credit from one month to the next. So when they talk about reducing the deficit, it's like, okay, we reduced the deficit by $500 billion. Okay, so how much did you still spend? Say you spent $2 trillion last month, and now you spent $1.5 trillion. Okay, yeah, you reduced it by $500 billion, but our national debt is still up $1.5 billion or $3 billion. I mean, $2.5 billion. Jeez. $3.5 billion total from 2 months ago. You know what I mean? I mean trillion, not billion. Like, deficit doesn't mean anything. I don't know why they always want to talk about deficit. Hey, debt is rising. But let's talk about deficit. I mean, that's why they do it, because talking about the deficit sounds better. Because then you can say, we reduced it by this. Okay, you still spent a ton of money, though, and added to the debt, but sure, you reduced the deficit. I hate when they talk about that. It's so dumb.
He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant in the military. When he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
That is the most brain-dead, retarded lie possible. I mean, does he think people just don't pay attention? I'm the only one that hasn't had any troops killed, blah, blah, blah. Really? I'm pretty sure there was 13 in your botched Afghanistan withdrawal. And on top of that, you are also very disrespectful at their funeral and kept checking your watch every single time another one came out.
The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Flying before you did it. I'm getting sick and fucking tired. What about you?
So they're no longer alive because of you, and then you can't even at least have any kind of respect to be like, oops, my bad, and honor them properly with like a salute or something. Nope. Stand there with your hands crossed and keep looking at your watch. Okay, you had none though, right? Idiot. And then what did he say? Oh, Trump's the only president that left the presidency with the economy worse than he started it or something. first off, that's dumb. I'm sure that happens all the time. It's called like a recession or depression, or I guess there's only been one major depression, but recessions, those happen all the time. I'm sure there's presidents that have handed off bad economies with a recession, and the next president had to deal with it and fix it. Second off, again, moron, even if that is true, it's because of COVID. It ain't because he's just some failure. It's. I like how it's convenient that you can forget about COVID existing, and just act like, oh, he fumbled on the economy because yours is so great, right? Let's not think about how terrible yours is going. And what's your excuse, idiot?
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China, it's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. Now, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump.
Anyways, in the beginning, he was talking about the tariffs, and this guy's saying, oh, is that going to drive prices up? Clearly, this guy doesn't understand economics and doesn't understand how the tariffs work, because when he was president, China already had some pretty steep tariffs that we put on. Didn't we get up to like 100%? And did anything blow out of proportion from that? No. It just makes it so that it's almost like it's like my company. We have a few big customers that we give pretty decent price breaks to. But here and there, we do have to increase the prices. Like, we don't increase their prices very regularly like we will a lot of other customers. We kind of give them, like, a price lock for a few years. But sometimes you have to because materials go up, labor rates go up, and all this. And then before you know it, we're actually not even breaking even on the price that we're offering the customer. So we're making stuff at a loss. And just for business practices, that's dumb. You know, you got to at least break even at the bare minimum. So then we do have to go in and adjust and give a slight increase and explain, well, it's because all these things have gotten more expensive and we're actually selling to you at a loss, and that's just not economically feasible from our business standpoint. So anyways, that's basically what the tariffs do. Right now, China and all these other countries are getting like a huge break to be working with us. So you slap down the tariff and, you know, it's balancing things out. So that way then China's not getting this huge boom and we're getting shafted. It's leveling things out. Okay, you pay that much and it helps do this, X, Y. The other thing it can do as well is it can help, what's the word I'm looking for? Stifle? Help boost homeland jobs, homeland businesses, So instead of buying a product that's made overseas or whatever, because maybe it costs a little bit more if it does because of a tariff, well, now you start buying something that's made here. And then it helps boost our own economy. So you really aren't losing by having the tariffs. The guy just doesn't understand. I mean, I kind of do. I just can't say it right.
Over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt.
Well, first off, he says that the national debt has soared to new highs. I mean, the national debt is never worked on. The only president that ever worked on it was, Andrew Jackson? He balanced the budget finally. But ever since, nobody ever works on it. They just keep adding. Oh, let's just, raise the debt ceiling. Add. Oh, we got to raise the debt ceiling again. Add. Like, nobody's fiscally responsible in politics. They just keep making things worse, which I do not understand. That's so dumb. Pay your fucking debts off. But anyways, I'm sure that would be a great way, too, for us citizens. If you paid your debts off, you wouldn't need as much tax money, because then what do you have to pay? Nothing. I mean, you waste the money anyway, so what difference does it make? But, yeah, he says that Trump added, what did he say? He said a lot. He said, like, almost 8 or something, and then he says Biden did 4. I mean, I guess those are actual numbers. He was looking at a paper. It doesn't make sense. It seems way wrong. Like, Biden has been going on a ridiculous spending spree, especially during COVID and everything. He was blowing money like it was nobody's business. And he kept having all those huge packages to avoid the government shutdowns and stuff. And, all this money's thrown away to Ukraine. I don't understand how it's only been 4 and Trump's basically been double. I mean, I know for Trump there was the big response towards the end for COVID, but geez, I don't know. That almost seems wrong.
For President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine.
And it even went to,
and he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country.
Yep,
they don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore.
They don't.
We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent.
Yep.
All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump.
Anyways, back to his tax cuts, though. Everybody's always whining about, why are you going to give tax cuts to the rich and to corporations? Okay, maybe to the rich is a dumb idea, but to companies and corporations, there's a purpose. The purpose is the more money that these companies have, then they can expand their business. They can improve their technologies. They can, build more facilities. And in turn, it creates more jobs. If you're taxing the hell out of them and they don't have the extra money to build another facility, well, there goes all those jobs. You know how many jobs would be created just by, let's say Google, for example, makes another plant somewhere. You got to have the construction team to build the facility. You have all the electricians needed and the clear, just all of it. The people that clear any woods, the people that build it, the design, the architects, the engineers, the everything. Plumbers, electricians, all that. Plus, then, once the facility's open, now there's all those employees that are there. The management team, the regular staffing, even the janitorial team. So that just creates tons of jobs. All because they had the extra money to open another facility. So that's the logic behind that. I mean, if you tax them like crazy so then regular people can get a break, okay, regular people might live a little easier, but we're not able to make businesses and all that. All we're going to do is have more money to waste on stupid stuff.
We will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say.
Yeah, and what's the point? Oh, if they paid more in tax, it would raise $500 billion. What's he talking, annually? And you just waste it on something. So what's it even matter for? It's not like you'd put it towards the debt or anything. You'd just waste it to Ukraine, or you'd waste it to Hamas because you're an idiot. Or you'd, I don't know, do something dumb with it, or just waste it in some other way. So who even cares? Or you could just let them keep it, and maybe they can invest it into something and make jobs for other people. I don't know. What sounds better, wasting it or putting it to good use?
10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President.
All right, where's Green Jean-Pierre? That was definitely a cheap fake. You know, he didn't lose his train of thought and struggle at the end there and then say something that made absolutely no sense at the very end. No, it's a cheap fake. CNN edited this on the spot live to make him look like an idiot, right? And also, we beat Medicare. Oh yeah, that's a cool thing to be bragging about. You want to talk about the 5 minutes ago he's talking about capping prices on insulin and setting certain amounts for the deductible on health insurance and stuff, and now we beat Medicare. Oh, okay.
President Biden, President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all,
I hate all this talk that the Dems have about abortion constantly. It's like, you do realize that there are tons of other ways to prevent a pregnancy, right? You know, maybe abstinence. If you're not with somebody that you want to be settling down with or having a kid with, or if you're not ready to have a kid, maybe just don't do the act of making a kid. You know, if you didn't want a cake, you wouldn't go and mix the eggs and the flour and sugar and all that, the vanilla flavoring and all that crap together, put it in a pan, throw it in the oven, and be like, oh, I didn't want a cake. Why did I go through all that? So, you know, don't put your wiener in a taco, or don't allow a wiener into your taco. Simple as that. You know, second thing, I mean, there's a thing called condoms. You could always get that, too. I don't think they're too expensive. What are they, $10 a box or something? You know, maybe get that. There's also birth control. Get yourself on that. Boom. Now you're not getting pregnant. Simple. I mean, these dumb lefties and Democrats, all they act like the only option to prevent a pregnancy is, I need to be able to get an abortion. Oh my God, women do not have the right to choose. Men have so much say over their bodies. They had the choice whether they wanted to get that dick or not, and they still took it. So what's your excuse there? They knew that the guy was, raw dogging, and went all the way while he was raw dogging it. So she made that choice. But now all of a sudden, I can't kill the product of what we did. Ugh. Oh my God, we don't have no autonomy over our bodies. Seriously? The other thing, too, is it's not like abortions are fully illegal. It's just not a federal level issue anymore, which seriously never should have been. The federal level is for a country as a whole. To have abortions as something that defines your country is kind of weird when you think about it. A little bit barbaric. Like, why why does this country think we should be prioritizing the ability to kill your unborn baby that high? Like, it's not that important as a fundamental basis of your country. So where it's at now is with the states, which is perfect. That's where it should be. Each state individually can decide whether they want to allow it or not. So it's still an option. There's still plenty of states in the union that are doing it. Like, it's not like it's completely gone and you can't find oh my God, what am I going to do now? It's still available, and there's even these pills and stuff that are available. That this lady just said the Supreme Court ruled that, Idaho has to still allow them at least. So at the bare minimum, it's still like, a Plan B type situation? So you still have that. Like, these people are so dumb.
The Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And
douchebag over there shakes the but I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that actually is true. That after that ruling was made, everyone was like, was this the right move? Like, geez, even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, whatever the heck her name is, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who the left all idolizes, even she was like, we probably shouldn't have done this. But of course, dumbass over here with, one brain cell is like, no, so stupid.
what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby.
Right.
What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's
shouldn't even
this
remember what
idea
your
that
name
they're
is.
all
You don't
against it.
know
It's just
what they
ridiculous.
supported.
And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, have your and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border.
Right, like Lincoln
We have
Riley.
a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion.
Psychotic.
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he...
No, you're not, dickhead. Here we go. Still trying to run this thing. Oh, if I'm reelected, I'm going to restore it. No, you're not. It's been overturned for 2 years now, and you haven't done anything. You think somehow in the next 4 years you're going to be able to? No, you're not. It has nothing. You have no say in the matter at all. So, no, you're not going to overturn it. Actually, overturn the overturning. Shut up, you idiot.
Can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby.
Yep.
Nobody wants
Really
that to happen,
psychotic
Democrat
and
or
weird,
Republican.
barbaric.
Nobody wants it to happen.
Jeez, even
That is
terrorist
simply
countries
not
don't do that.
true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period.
Under Roe v. Wade,
What is period supposed to do? You think that drives home a point because you say it multiple times? Times?
late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
We don't think that's a good thing.
No.
We think it's a radical thing.
Yeah.
We think the Democrats are the radicals,
Yeah,
not the
very much.
Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the...
I'm seeing this dick always trying to say the MAGA Republicans. Oh, the MAGA Republicans, like it's so bad. MAGA is a good fucking thing, brainless. Make America great again. How are you going to turn something that is super nationalistic and you want to see your country succeeding to the full extent and turn that into somehow a negative? That doesn't even make sense. God, that just shows like how brain dead this guy is and all the Democrats in general, because they all go along with that, acting like it's something so horrible. Oh my God, MAGA's terrible. Oh, really? I know, wanting your country to be great and prosperous and booming and respected and all that. Oh, wow, that's so terrible sounding. Oh, my God. Why would you want that? So stupid.
Board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me.
It's funny because no, they don't/didn't. And the best part is, in real time, when this idiot said this, the Border Patrol official Twitter put up a message, pinned it to their account, and said, no, we do not and never have supported Biden.
My position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages.
There's another lie. That wasn't Trump. That was your boy Obama that was doing that. So, nice try, dickbag.
Making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
Here we go, Mr. Dickbag. I can't ever tell the truth ever, but I'm going to try to call someone else out for lying. Seriously? And no, you're just misinterpreting what Trump is saying as well. He's not saying that these countries are intentionally emptying their prisons and sending their people here. It's those people that were in prison get out and then come here. And then they continue doing their crimes and all that crap. And now we have it instead of the country that they're supposed to be in having it. Because you think, oh, wide open border's totally fine, because that's your way to cheat and get more voters. You know you're not going to get any with the citizens, so, we'll just allow tons of illegals in. They'll vote for me.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so,
well, not the decades ones.
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
No, it's
Every
not.
single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And he opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First off, he never motherfucking said that. It's been debunked tons of times. Obviously, the regular original video is out there from whatever his speech was as well. So you can easily look that up and know that you're a complete moron just making up stupid things, calling people losers and suckers that they never said. That wouldn't even make sense. Why would a sitting president call the troops that he's the commander-in-chief of suckers and losers? Granted, it's ones that have passed, but still, it represents, those troops represent what you now are the head of. So that means you'd be calling the active duty members suckers and losers as well. That's so dumb. He never said that. Second off, I'm going to make a whole entire video on this alone because he's calling Trump a sucker and a loser, and it's the irony, the absolute irony. I mean, if either one of these guys is a sucker and or a loser, it's Biden. Leaps and bounds. And you're going to try to call Trump one? All right, retard.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one.
Why is he looking that way? Trump is to his right. Why is he looking to his left? yelling at Trump, it doesn't even make sense.
And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him.
Yep.
They think he's the worst commander in chief.
I'm not even in the
That's what you
military,
call
and
him.
I would, if I was in the
we've ever
military,
had.
I
They
would
can't stand him.
quit.
So
I
let's
don't know
get
what
that straight.
that entails,
And
but
they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, a president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never
Right.
never invaded Ukraine.
Right.
A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country,
Yeah.
that when Putin watched that
Saw
and he
that,
saw
right.
the
He's like,
incompetence,
ooh,
that
time to take
he
advantage.
should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing
Syria,
up under
kinda.
him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter
So you never listen to your self-talk? Because that's all you're ever full of.
is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
You know, if Trump did tell Putin do whatever you want, it was almost like a egging on type taunt. Like when someone says, come on, do it. Punch me first or whatever, because then they're going to lay the other guy out, no problem. That's basically what that probably was. He was telling Putin, go ahead, try it, see what happens. Go ahead, make a move. And he didn't. Until you came along, because you're so weak and wussy that he was like, okay, I think I have a perfect opportunity now to go after Ukraine. I don't have no powerhouse to scare me no more. So, yeah, that's what that meant, idiot. Now, yeah, Putin, do whatever you want. It wasn't like that, like you seem to think.
President Trump,
I
as
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, Are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine.
Acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started.
Yep.
If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you
I mean, he does have a point. It shouldn't even have happened anyways. And we shouldn't have gotten involved. If it was going to happen, then it should have just ran its course. If nobody interfered and helped out Ukraine, which is a ridiculously corrupt country to begin with, this whole skirmish would have been over in like a couple of days. But instead, it's dragged on for a couple of years because all this interference, mostly from this dickhead on the right, providing all kinds of money, a la us, to Ukraine. Us meaning the taxpayers, not like an abbreviation of United States.
a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear.
I mean, Bush's too.
He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on.
So I think I'm just going to stop it here. This is a good spot, transitional question, whatever. So yeah, thanks for checking this out with me, and until next time, I said see you.
What must be what? What must be what? What must be what? What must be what?